Conversations with Iris. Here's your host, my loving wife, Iris.
Hola, mi gente bonita. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to Conversations with Iris, where we sit down and have stories that just shape us and they just transform us. We love to bring you guys some raw truth and that soulful goodness I love to call heart, that corazón. Let me tell you guys something. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome in. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and sharing my episodes. It means so much to me. Keep the fan mail coming. Let me know what you liked. Let me know what you didn't like. Was there a conversation that inspired you? Did you hear something that you love? I want to know. Go ahead and send me a text message. It's anonymous. Go ahead and send me some love. I just love it all throughout. And don't forget to check out the Short Desk podcast, our brother show, bringing laughter, real talk, and just their different perspective every week. So love them, show them some good love. They actually paved the way for this little podcast that could. So now don't forget about them, all right? Now, I want to transition and tell you guys a little bit about our guest because he's going to basically tell you and just make you look at your wallet a little bit different and the bank a little bit different. Yes, you heard that. My guest has become one of the most talked about voices in the financial truth seeking industry. Okay. Yes, you heard that correctly. After being left with $85,000 in credit card debt, when a publishing deal basically collapsed on him, he didn't even declare bankruptcy. Okay. This story gets really good. He had a profound discovery that basically changed his life and the system behind all these credit cards and possibly the way we understand money in general. He believes that bank issued credit cards aren't truly credit cards at all. Okay. You heard that. But debit instruments disguised as loans. And that understanding could just change people's life and free themselves from we call that alleged credit card debt. He's now the author of Forget and Forget: How to Nuke Your Credit Card Debt, the founder of DIY Debt Relief, and a rising voice in the global podcast industry out there, just captivating audience members with bold insights, powerful storytelling, and just providing all these great strategies and promises to help you turn your financial situation into just a purpose, a clarity of a future ahead that you could just overcome this. So today, we're going to dive deep into truth, courage, and the fine print of money itself. Please welcome the wonderful, the author, the researcher, and the financial truth seeker here. Bienvenidos, Tommy Kilpatrick. Thank you. It's truly a pleasure to have you.
Wow, what an introduction. I love it. Well,
I
welcome.
told you.
Thank you.
I told you.
I told you. You told me.
I told
didn't
you.
believe you.
I know. I told you I was going to give you the best introduction because that's what I do in my show. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
You
Tommy,
are the
I am
best.
so thankful. Yes, I'm so thankful. I could already tell this conversation is going to be good that you had chosen my podcast to tell your story. You just have a great story to tell. And you're tuning in from Philippines. I love it. I hear roosters in the back. What's going on? Where are you at right now?
Well, I'm in the countryside. We just had a typhoon go by us. We had a lot of wind and rain, and the backfield is flooded. So one of the family members, he went out there swimming and with a net and brought back 2 huge fish to have for dinner. So this is the life I want to live
Mm.
in the Philippines and in the countryside.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing and a really good meal coming your way pretty soon. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, that sounds very good. So, Tommy, I want to start from the beginning. You're holding $85,000 in credit card debt, but instead of breaking down, you were like, we're not taking this crap. You start breaking down the system layer by layer. What was that aha moment for you when you realized this wasn't just personal debt, but something bigger? Tell us.
Oh, yes. It's unveiling that the worldwide banks are committing fraud upon us. And it was just my background of being a son of a CPA, a certified public accountant, and the also having the experience of going to school to be a CPA, even though I never got the credential, I can do the work. But it was that realization the bank does not have an invoice, and therefore there is no debt. And on the other side, they have a no promissory note, so there was no loan. At the time, my father-in-law was a attorney and a judge, and we had long conversations about fraud under all contracts. So if you use the card, you're held to their terms and conditions, not when there's fraud involved. So I sued the banks. I went into federal court
Yeah.
and I sued all three banks.
Wow. Wow. And then the outcome of that, you sue these three banks, but then again, your debt was what? Wiped away. Uh-uh.
Well, very strange is I was called into court by the judge, and my father-in-law said that doesn't really happen. They're only interested in scheduling. He said, "Mr. Kilpatrick, do you have a credit card?" I said, "Well, let me start at the beginning." "Oh, we'll start at the beginning a little later. Do you have a credit card?" "Well, it started off as a gift card." "A gift card? Pull your card out." So I pull my card out. He says, Read what it says right there. Credit card. You are an idiot. Get out of here." So he dismissed
Mhm.
all three cases. So I was back to having the $85,000 credit card debt. But in a month later, I looked at my credit report and all three banks were off my credit report. My credit score went from 525 up to like 700 immediately because those three credit cards were gone. They were off my credit report.
Oh wow, that is amazing that you went through that and your debt basically just vanished like that. And you come from a strong, you mentioned that attorney, judge, and also that strong accounting background. I want to rip those layers apart a little bit more and just take us way back to tell us a little bit about you, your upbringings. You already mentioned that you do have that accounting background, but what led you to this, large I will say like a large book deal. I can't get the words out. There we go. But tell us a little bit about you so we could get our listeners into like your life there before this happened.
Oh, oh, sure. I was born and raised in Long Beach, California, and I thought I'd never leave. I was always going to be a Californian. And when I was 7, I was into entrepreneur. Asked my dad for money. He said, "You got to earn it." So I said, "How do I do that?" He said, "That's your problem." So I made some cookies and some Kool-Aid, and on Saturday morning, opened up my little shop there in the garage. And my friends came over.
Wow.
They didn't have any money. I said, "You go find me 3 paying customers, and I'll give you a cookie." So I actually had
I
salespeople
love
at the
that.
age of 7. And then I learned how
Wow.
to scuba dive at 13. And at 15, I had a summer job working in the harbors, scraping the barnacles off of boats. I was making $165 a week, and my friends at McDonald's were making about $35 or $40 a week. So I bought my own car
Wow.
at 17. I graduated early in January, never went to my commencement, and was working and had my own apartment. And so life was good. But then I was an insurance investigator. I lied. I told them I was 19. They had my driver's license. They knew I was only 17, but they hired me anyway. And so after about a year of that, I looked around and going, "Do I want to do this when I'm 40 or 50 like all the other guys I see here?" No. So I'll go to school. And I took a double major of accounting and abnormal psychology. So my high school counselor was the teacher at the community college, so I took one of his classes, and I fell in love with the psychology. So I really want to focus on the crazy people. So I spent time at Napa State Mental Hospital, and that's I have a key. I visited, but I could leave. But I worked with autistic
Oh,
children, so the ones that were totally psychotic, they didn't even interact with you. So it was a great time.
wow. Oh my God. So it seems like you've been hustling since age 7. I love what you've been doing. Since you were a little kid, you were hustling for that money, always trying to chase paper. And I love the fact that you coupled accounting with psychology. So to understand that human behavior aspect of things. Isn't that amazing? Human behavior is so interesting to us, but you got to understand it, right?
Oh yeah, and especially the criminal. I didn't really deal with the criminally insane, but that's what the banksters are. They're criminally insane what they're doing to us.
Oh my God, that's crazy. So let me fast forward a little bit. You told us a little bit about yourself, the outcome of this book deal that happened, the $85,000 in debt. You went to court. Your debt was basically freed. I want to understand and help our listeners really understand the meaning about that alleged debt. We hear that a lot. We need to understand that. So you have mentioned that banks never actually just lend you the money, that there's no promise or promise note there involved, no invoice, therefore it's not a real loan, right? It really isn't. For our
Really,
listeners
really
hearing this
is.
for the first time, can you just explain to us how does that work and why does that matter?
Oh, sure. Well, first of all, I want to say is I'm a doubting Thomas, so I invite you and your listeners to also be a doubting Thomas, and don't believe a word I say today. Okay, I've sent you some show notes, and there's some links there, and you
Yes.
can look it up and see what I'm saying is true. Send this
Yeah.
podcast to your CPA or anyone who's had one class of accounting, and they'll tell you I'm right. The bank does not have an invoice, so you don't have a debt, and there was no promissory note, so there never could have been a loan, and fraud undoes all contracts. So law is language, and language is law. So if you say you've got credit card debt, you've got it. There's nothing I can do for you. But we watch TV, we see the bank robbery, and they
Yes.
always say alleged bank robbery. Well, all I'm asking you and your
Mm,
audience to do is to add one word, allege. Now you're putting a
alleged.
burden on the bank to prove that there's a debt, and they can't do that. So that's what we want to do is it's an alleged credit card. Let me just say one thing
Mm,
is that there are true credit cards. This is not a get out of debt scheme. Okay. You have
right.
a debt, you owe it. So let's say, Iris, you want some tires for your car and you're driving down there of Orlando and you see a tire store and you pull in. You say, I need tires. And they can see from there. Yes, you do, lady. You
Yeah.
certainly do have some ball tires there. And
Uh-huh.
you go, how much is it going to cost? And I say, oh my God, your mouth drops. So I don't have that kind of money. But I've got something coming up. I got a tax refund coming up. I got a bonus coming to my. Oh, Iris, why don't you fill out the in-store credit card application and see if you qualify? Well, guess what? You do. Fantastic. You drive
Mm,
away with tires on your car, and you didn't pay for those tires, did you?
no.
No, you
The
didn't pay
car
for them.
the
They put them on your car and you
correct.
drove away. You
Yep.
promised to pay, right? But not a promissory note. It's an invoice. So at the end of the month, you're going to get a statement, which is true. And it says from the tire store, you have an outstanding unpaid invoice. And that's true. You owe the money, Iris. You can't get out of it. Okay. It was their tires. They sold you their tires. They paid a guy to put them on your car. So you owe the money. Okay. But
Mhm.
you tell me, oh no, Tommy, I went to Walmart and they put tires in my car, and you're telling me I don't owe it? I'm going, yep. Wait a
Yeah.
second. What's the difference? Okay, look on the back of Walmart, Amazon, any department store. If on the back of the card it says issued by Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Bank of London,
Mm.
Bank of Tokyo, Bank of India, it's worldwide. It's a phony card because they did not sell you tires. They didn't come out to your house and do a plumbing job for you. They are not a merchant. They could never have issued a credit card.
Wow, wow. And thank you for, on helping our listeners understand what is really entails a store issued credit card
Right,
versus the bank issued credit card. What would you say are those two major differences? Like the bank issued one. Let's go
right.
to that one. We talked
Well, the
about
most
store, but
Right. Most important thing is about 100 years ago, you went into the general store and said, hey, Charlie, I need 5 pounds of flour, a pound of sugar, and my crops are coming in a few weeks. Oh, yeah, we know that. So, hey, Charlie, can I borrow $10,000? What am I, a bank or something? You go to a bank to get a loan. You don't go to a
yes.
bank for a merchant. So that's why I've said again, you can't do a credit card. So now the issue is a loan. Well, right. So, Iris, let me ask you a question. If you
Yes.
apply for a loan at a bank and you get turned down, don't accept you, do you still get the loan?
No. You
No,
don't. You
no. Why would
no,
you say
you
that? I
don't.
know. But if you're approved, then you go into the bank and you fill out loan documents. You remember that,
Ah.
all those
Mhm.
pages, right? You have to prove
Yep.
you have an income. All right. Because how are you going to pay the loan back if you don't have an income?
Correct.
Imagine this, the bank being brought into court and the judge says, you're loaning money to people who don't even have an income. That's predatory.
Hmm.
So the banks have to have you prove by a pay stub or some kind of annuity or some your social security check, somehow you're getting money. All right, then you also have to have collateral, because what if you don't pay it back? How is the bank going to get their money back? Well, they sell your car, they foreclose on your house, or if you had a personal loan, you put your yacht up for collateral, they take your yacht
Yeah.
from you. But if they
Mm.
sell it and they come up short, well, that's their problem. If they come up long, well, they don't get to keep the money. They got to give you back the difference. So that's the thing. You have to have a credit report, and your credit score determines your interest rate. But the last thing you sign is a promise to pay. It's called a promissory note. And that's why I asked you about your application. An application means a request. So some of your audience is going, well, I sign an application. That's a contract. That's
Right.
a note. No, it's not. Application means a request. If you never were approved because they knew you didn't have an income, well, you say you have an income, now you got to prove it. So that was never done with your so-called credit card. So the bank issued credit card could never have been issued because they don't issue credit cards, but they could never have issued you a loan because they have to have you sign a promise to pay it back.
Wow. So how does the gift card analogy fit into that, Tommy? Let's talk about that.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I hear
Well,
you laughing. I'm like, wait a
oh
minute.
yeah.
Okay.
That's why the
How
judge
does
said,
that fit?
gift card. Are you crazy? So yes, are you crazy? I love it. I love it. So, okay, banks advertise to get you to be a customer, right? So they advertise and they want you to be. Now, years ago, they had purchased toasters and wall clocks and they had them in the bank. Your mom went into a bank and they said, oh, if you open an account with us today, we will give you a wall clock. Now, your mom pretty savvy. She says, and what if I open up two? Can I get the toaster
Yeah.
too? Absolutely. So your dad comes home from work, sees a brand new toaster, brand new wall clock, says, how did we get this? Knowing we didn't have the money for it. The bank gave it to us. The bank? Why would the bank give it to you? They wanted me to be a
Oh my
customer.
God.
So one
Yeah.
time there in the paper, it said, come into our bank and deposit $25 and we'll match it in 90 days. So what did I do? I took my $25, put it into my savings account, waited 91 days, went into the bank and withdrew $50, my 25 and the bank's 25 and closed the account. Now let me ask you a question. Did I steal $25 from the bank?
Yeah.
I stole $25 out of the bank? The bank handed $25 to me?
Well, I wouldn't say that. Hold on, let me
I didn't
backtrack.
steal it. No,
No,
I didn't
no,
steal
you
the
did
money.
not
Right.
steal it.
Right.
Yes,
Now,
correct. You did not steal it. But
I
when
didn't
you
steal
think
the
about it, it's
money,
like,
but they
no, you
gave
did
it to
not.
me. I walked out. I closed the account. Well, that's too bad for them, right? Now, here's the question. Was that immoral what I did?
No, I don't think so.
Some
No,
people say
I,
yes. Most people
I
say
don't
no.
think so.
The bank said, here's the deal. I fulfilled their deal and I walked out with the money. Well, it's just the cost of doing business. Well, it's the same thing with your $500 credit card from Capital One. It's a
Wow.
gift card. The gift card was to get you to be a customer. Now, why do they want you to be a customer? Look it up yourself. Type in how much does the average person pay on credit card fees? And it's $23.04. Okay. So if the
Mm.
bank has 1 million card holders, they're bringing in $23 million a month, which I figured out would be about a fourth of their profit from charging people for a free checking account.
Jeez. And then it's a numbers thing with them too. You have to continuously like ask people, hey, you could save $13 with this purchase. Let's go ahead and sign you up. It's like what is it? A game. They have to like make sure
It's a
that the
scheme.
most people open up the most credit cards in the store. I used to work for a retail store. That's what we used to do. The people that opened up the most credit cards got the job and they stayed in the job. But it's a money thing with them.
It's a money. You go into a store and say, open a credit card. You say, I have a credit score of
Yes.
350. I mean, I don't even have a score. It doesn't matter. Just apply. I have no money. It doesn't
Yes.
matter. I don't have a job. It doesn't matter. So all they want
Yeah.
to do is apply because they know as a customer, it's just a numbers game. So what happens is that when the bank gives you, that's a problem thing too, is they give you $500 on a gift card. Think about this. In 22 months, they're going to bring back the 500. So let's run the story.
Mm.
Bank of America sends you a gift card without even you applying. Remember that? They would send cards
Yes.
pre-approved and you got the card. You went to, let me ask you a question. What would you like to buy for $500 today? If Bank of America sent you a gift card, what would you like to spend $500 today on?
$500, you asked me? Huh.
Yeah,
A couch, maybe?
$500.
I would
One
like to
thing.
buy a couch.
Buy a couch?
Yeah, a
Okay,
couch.
good.
I've
A
been looking
couch.
at a couch at
Perfect.
Amazon that I want to buy so bad, but
Well, let's say you go to a store, you go to a furniture store today, and you go in and you find that couch for $500. You drop your card
yeah.
down, and they accept it, and they're walking out, sort of walking out. They're pushing the couch out, but someone at the door says, "Wait a second, lady, did you pay for that?" And you have a receipt, right?
Mm,
Who owns that couch right now?
I own the couch.
You own the couch, right? Are
Yep.
you going to get a statement from that store in a month from now saying that you have an outstanding unpaid invoice?
Mm-mm, you're not.
No, no.
Because nope, you're
So
not. Mm-mm.
who paid that store for you to walk out with our $500 couch? It'd be
Bank of
what?
America.
Bank of America, right? So Bank of
Yep.
America paid the store that night or the next day. So where did the money come from? It came from the advertising budget. They didn't
Oh, look
You
at that.
didn't borrow it, you didn't buy it, they gave it to you, so they're trying to get you as a customer because they know in 22 months their $500 will be back. And now you're paying $23 for the rest of your life for a free checking account. Now, why I keep
Yep.
saying a free checking account is that I have a memory. And in our class of accounting, we read a book called Modern Money Mechanics. And on page 6, it's in my show notes there for you, my second link. And it says right there, banks accept your promissory note and they write numbers in your free checking account. That's basically how they
Wow.
make money. So, how they produce all this money from things is they have to have you sign a promise to pay it back first because they have no legal obligation to get you to court to force you to pay. Because if you don't promise to pay it back, it's a gift. If I give
Yep.
you something, it's a gift. If I say, "Oh, I'm going to loan it to you," well, then it's still mine, right? You have terms and conditions of a loan. But if I don't say it's a loan and I give it to you, it's called a gift card. So that's what happened. So you're a good person. You're a moral person. You see the $500 bill, and that's what they trick you. The statement looks like a bill. Now, Iris, you've had a checking account for many years and you get a statement every
Yep.
month. Is that checking account statement a bill?
No, it's
No.
not.
It shows your beginning balance, your deposits, the checks you've written,
Yep.
the debits and other fees, and then you have an ending
Your
balance. It's not a
transactions, all
bill.
of that money that you spend on. Yep.
Right.
Everything you spend
It's
on.
the same thing. So when you get a
Wow.
check out from Bank of Orlando for $500 and you mailed it to Bank of America thinking you had to pay this bill, didn't you fund your checking account in the Bank of America? That's
You
the
did.
first time Bank of America's ever seen your money, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
in the
You
show
had
notes,
to.
the very
Yeah.
first link is you do not make deposits. What you're doing is when you take money and give it to the bank to hold, it's a loan. They loan money to you, you loan money to them. So when you put $500 in that account, every purchase you've made since then has been with your own money. You have been
Wow.
fronting, you have been putting money into your checking account and then using it. But they tell you that it's a debt, it's a credit card. No, it's not. It's a loan. No, it's not. It's your money into your checking account and the way you have access to that is with your debit card.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
Because
think
that's
a
what you're
credit
going to use
card,
eventually to
right?
pay for it, right? So,
Right. So you think a credit card comes in the mail? No, it's a gift card. Once you send money to the bank, it turns into a debit card.
wow. Wow. And I love that. And I love that you basically brought that example or asking these questions because I'm pretty sure some people are still kind of like, wait a minute, scratching their head. It makes sense. It definitely makes all sense when you think about it. But Tommy, I want to fast forward and just go back to something you had mentioned, just the
Mhm.
legal side of your fight. I mean, you mentioned that you filed 3 lawsuits yourself that basically that helped thousands of people just challenge their credit report. That's big. So I wanted
Mhm.
to ask you, what was the one thing or the major takeaway that you learned from the whole overall legal process? Because I want to make sure that we could help a listener out there what they need to do to take a similar step.
Don't believe anybody on the internet. Don't believe anybody on these podcasts. Because I
That's
heard a
right.
guy, I heard a guy who said it's so easy to file a federal lawsuit. He did it in Texas. He said the judges are so accommodating. They know you're pro se. They know you're not an attorney. They're very accommodating, very helpful. No, they're not. So I believe the guy. I did the lawsuit, and I found that it flew back in my face. But the end result is I told the court and the bank that they were committing a crime, and
Yeah.
they were going to be criminals, then I had actually exposed them. So that's why I think the banks told the judge, we can't go forward because there was a deposition coming up. They were going to have to send one of their employees to my office. They're going to have to answer my questions under oath, penalty of perjury. And obviously, a criminal does not want to be exposed. So they told the judge to dismiss my case, which he did because he owns Bank of America stock. He doesn't want to see Bank of America go under. And so then once it was dismissed, they took it off the credit report because I had no evidence of a crime.
Yeah.
Your question is maybe,
Amazing.
Tommy, what can I do for my audience? Well, first of all, you have to have evidence. If I'm saying that you're a crime victim, you got to have evidence. So look at your credit report. And if that has a card on there, it says Bank of America, and it's a credit card, or it says charge off, you've got the evidence. Now, what you do is you're a victim, you got to go to the police. If you go to your local Orlando police, they're going to say, lady, this is civil. This is civil. We don't handle these things. There are police that watch the banks, and there are 4 or 5
Wow.
state and federal agencies you complain to. Okay, so now you have the evidence that you are a victim of fraud. So then we send a letter to the bank. But first, you've got to withdraw your money. Now, when you have a normal
Mm.
checking account and you decide to close it, they say, oh, Iris, sorry to see you leave. Here's your $3.15 left in your checking account. No, the banks steal your money. So you have to max out the card. You're not maxed out the card. You're withdrawing your money. So withdraw your money, and then you write a letter to the bank asking them to close the account and show it as closed by consumer in good standing, and there'll be no 1099-C issued. That's an IRS form they send you to make you pay taxes, and they get a tax deduction. Well, there's not 1 cent because we notify them that if they do that, we file a 3949A. Being a son
Yeah.
of a CPA, I have the IRS as part of my DNA. So a 3949A is a form you fill out notifying the IRS that there's a fraudulent form was filed, and that'd be by the bank. So the bank does not want to do this because there can be a tax fraud. So we send them
Yeah.
a letter with a counter complaint. So if they sue you, they're going to see a lawsuit against them for fraud and unjust enrichment. And we have all discovery, we have the deposition date, and we have an injunction that will stop them. Because if they can't prove to the judge that there is an outstanding invoice or a promissory note, they can't do that in 30 days. They're in contempt of court. So once they see this brick, I'm talking 50 pages, their attorney's going to say, this is going to cost us $20,000 just to
A
start.
lot more money.
And we
Yeah.
have no
Yeah.
evidence. We're criminals, so we can't have this. So all they do is they put on your credit report, closed by consumer with good standing. And you say, oh,
Wow.
they
And
won't
that's
do that.
big
Oh,
too.
they won't do that. Okay. Then after that, if they don't do it, then we send a letter to the credit reporting agency, and they have to, by law, because you have the evidence of a crime of the fraud, they have to remove it off your credit report.
Look at that. And I want to emphasize, you said, remember to ask to remove the alleged debt within those 45 days. Yes.
Mhm.
That's very key there. That's very, very key. I want to make sure that our listeners take that away, especially.
So you should see that in about 45 days. They'll remove it right away, but it takes about 30 days for it to show up on your credit report.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
and
And
that
let me
works.
ask you something, with finding this out, you went through this process. Do you think that this could lead to a major, I don't know, I'm thinking like out of the box here, like a bank reform, like with the banking system? Do you think there's potential for that?
Absolutely. So if I can get 1,000 of your listeners to find, on average, I found people about $2,000. So your listeners could be about $20,000 ahead of all your people added together on average. I talked to one podcaster, and I found him 20,000 alone that he had, they didn't know he
Wow.
had. So I find you money, and then it's off your credit report. And then you're going to say, well, I'll be banned. I won't have a credit card ever again. Hold on a second. Let me tell you, 13 years ago, the wife said, get out and take the dog with you. So I became homeless on purpose, and I took a vow of poverty for 10 years. And so I was off grid. I was living on farms all across the United States, ended up in Maine. So knowing I was going to come to the Philippines, I needed to know I get a credit card. So I applied to Capital One, and they gave me a $500 credit card. Notice the word gave me, but I had no
Yes.
score and no credit number, and I had no credit history
Huh.
because I was off grid for 10 years. But I was a previous customer. Oh, okay. That sued them
Look at
for
that.
35,000. I took that to court and sued them for 35. They took it off my credit report, but they showed it as positive. So I was a positive customer. So again, they gave me the card, and so my score went to 525. I went to a small credit union, got a little loan, installment loan. So I jumped to 625, and now I'm at 710. And it's just been using 10% of my credit card. I know it's not a credit card, but everyone
Wow.
thinks it is.
Yeah,
So
you got
what
to
I
use
decided
that
to do,
10%, only a little bit of percent.
right? So I can teach you, don't get a card with an annual fee because it's a free checking account, and you run a risk, but you need a credit score. You need that for a job. You need it for your apartment.
Yeah.
So I can help you get your score back up again. And knowing that you're dealing with a criminal, there are some risks, but now you know what it's all about. So you won't get in that problem ever again.
And thank you so much for sharing that. And overall, if you could have our listeners just hone in on one key aspect, if they didn't take away anything, what's the one thing you wish they could just take away from our conversation today?
Mhm.
So, one
Your
thing.
mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. So all they ask you to do is open your mind, say the word allege, do your research, and then ask people who are knowledgeable. They would say, I've never heard of this before, but yeah, the guy's right. The bank does not have an invoice. They do not have a promissory note, and fraud undoes all contracts. So, yep, I'm right. They're wrong. They're
Wow.
criminal. I can help
Yeah.
you.
Wow, Tommy, this story is very powerful. I want to thank you for showing us so boldly and just reminding our listeners that truth can be uncomfortable, but it's always liberating, right? We could always figure a loophole through these issues. And I feel like you have given us a lot of financial insight, and I'm going to have to like look into my credit cards now and that fine bold print and all that good stuff. Look at my credit score a little bit differently. You definitely have given us the courage to ask better questions regarding our financial power for sure. So before we wrap up, can you tell our listeners where they can connect with you, just follow your journey more throughout and learn about more about your book that we had mentioned? Where can they follow you?
Mhm. Very simple. Tommy A. Kilpatrick. And you type that into the Google, you'll see all of my interviews and stuff. You can see I'm consistently saying this over and over again. I love to talk to your attorney. The last thing a scammer wants to do is talk to your attorney. No, I want to talk to your attorney because they've been brainwashed into this and I can help them. And the other side, too, is to have people just find me on Tommy A. Kilpatrick on Facebook. And that's the easiest way. In the show notes, you can see my email, but Facebook is the easiest way to connect with me.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Remember to follow his work. I mean, everything that you do sound that you're saying, Tommy, really does sound. I'm like, wow, I'm going to have to look into my debt now, too. You know what I mean? So
Well,
it's
Iris,
all enlightening for sure.
you've been so good to me. I'm going to do a special deal for your listeners. If they contact me and have a free consultation, I will give them my $69 book for free. So that's for your listeners.
Oh, you heard that. Look at that. You heard that. And to everyone tuning in and listening to this episode, remember this: freedom starts with awareness. You're not a balance. You're not a debt. You're not even a freaking mistake. Okay. Let's get that straight. Tommy actually told us you're not a freaking mistake. Okay. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and you can rewrite your financial history. So it's all takes power. So, Tommy, thank you once again for joining the show. Thank you for our listeners for opening your hearts and listening to this wonderful episode. Thank you once again. Con mucho amor, this has been Conversations with Iris. Thank you so much.